All right, it's 6 p.m. I'm going to call this regular monthly meeting of the Dickinson County Board of Supervisors to order. Would note for the record that all members are present, along with County Administrator, Mr. Larry Barton, County Attorney, Mr. Will Sturgill, as well as Madam Clerk, Ms. Teresa Lyle. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Barton if he wouldn't mind to bless our meeting, please.
Thank you. Let's bow our heads. Most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we just pray that you be with us this evening, Lord, as the supervisors discuss the business of the county, Lord. We just pray for wisdom, Lord, for them, Lord, as they lead the county. And dear Lord, just be with all of our county, all the residents in the county, Lord, to keep everyone safe, Lord. We pray with all the sickness going around, that you would heal the sick, Lord, and just bless our families, we pray, Lord. It's all these things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Peters, would you mind to lead us in prayer, please?
Everyone stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, that brings us to item number 2. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve. First being the public hearing from December 20th of 22 and the regular meeting of December 20th, 22. Are there any questions or concerns about either of those minutes? And if there are none, we would entertain a motion to approve those.
I'll make a motion that we approve both of them.
I'll second.
Any other discussion or issues? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. And we have approval of the agenda as item number 3. I emailed a resolution regarding utility bills, AEP bills. I hope that everyone maybe had the chance to review that. I will ask that that be added as other business 8A. Other than
Mr.
that,
Chair, we should have an addendum there that's got 3 items.
are there other matters? Okay, yes, sir. I've got that. So we would have,
It's on there.
we would have modifications. So Mr. Powell's going to go after public comment. Okay. It would be 5B, 8B, and 8C then. Does anybody have any other amendments or comments about the agenda other than what's on the addendum?
Mr. Chair, I'd also like to add that with the approval of our expenditures, that will include Mr. Sturgill's invoice that's at your table as well. So
Yes, sir. So we'll probably need to clarify that when we make
the
our
consent
motion again
agenda.
on that matter. Thank you, Mr. Barton. Other than what would be included with the addendum attached, are there any other modifications or amendments to the agenda? If there are none, we'd entertain a motion to approve with the addendum.
I'll make a motion we approve with the additions.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. We have the consent agenda, A through F, and with A, we would have the invoice for our attorney. Are there any comments, discussions, or questions about the consent agenda and the content therein?
I'll make a motion that we pay Mr. Sturgill's law office.
And do you want, so you want to do that separate from?
Yeah, you have to, that expenditure, approval of expenditure, I
Okay.
believe that's our bills, isn't it?
we have been approving the entire consent agenda as
Oh,
one.
okay, with that, all right.
recommendation.
All
Yeah,
of them
we can
together.
do it at whatever your pleasure is.
I'll make a motion that we approve all of them then.
Is there any comments on the content of the consent agenda? I want to say something after we approve, while we're approving this, Larry, I want to say what a great job, in my opinion, our litter control's doing. I drove to Grundy today. They had their lights on and signs out and probably 100 bags picked up. And everywhere that they've been, and I know that there's areas where they're not being, so I understand that. But it seems to me that that's really gaining traction. I know you've done a lot of work on that, and so I think we're really making a dent.
I had a
408 bags, I
complaint.
think.
I had a
Go ahead.
complaint. We're putting such a burden on our truck shop now because they're picking up so much trash.
But no, I mean, it's,
That's never
I
happened
really
in the
like the
entire
way
7
they
years
did
I've
their
been on the
report.
board.
yeah,
Very
I do
thorough,
too.
very good. First time I've seen
They're doing
them.
awesome, in other
That'll
words.
be in there each each
Who did
month.
this? Did Bo do this?
Dusty actually done that, so.
Dusty, I mean, who did it in the report? It
Yeah,
was very
Dusty
good.
done the report. I think his wife had actually helped him write it out.
But all jokes aside, I know that's been a grizzly bear we've wrestled, and I just want to say that from what I've seen so far, it looks good.
I think it's the most trash that's ever been picked up.
Is there any other comments on the consent agenda and the information therein? If not, there'll be a motion to approve.
I made a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. As well. Brings us to item 5, public comment. You may make a telephonic public comment if you're watching electronically. The phone number is 276-333-0357. At this time, the phone line is open and the podium is open for anybody that'd like to make a public remark.
Oh, sure.
Hey, my name's Jeremy Fleming, Sheriff of Dickinson County, live on Brush Creek Road. Not only am I speaking this evening from a sheriff's standpoint, but a citizen of Dickinson County also. I am very concerned about the latest AEP rate hike in Dickinson County. I know it's not only affecting Dickinson County, but several other counties as well. This is a topic that we discussed last week in Richmond with our representatives, the governor, lieutenant governor. I think they are all aware of it, but I don't know that they fully understand how detrimental this is going to be to the citizens of Dickinson County and Southwest Virginia. I've spoke with individuals today in the Hayside area, in the Clintwood area, Clinchco area, all over the county. I spoke to 4 individuals who are selling their house and moving out of the county because of this, and they're moving into another house in another county or state with a family member because they can't afford to pay their power bill alone. It's a problem when your power bill is more than your mortgage. There's an issue.
How did Richmond, if I may ask, how did they respond to it?
I guess they were able to justify it by the cost of natural gas, coal, and I understand that.
That's what I expected, because I would also say that we probably should add to the resolution the price of eggs, the price of gasoline, all that.
That's true.
Because I think all this is gonna be powerless. Everyone's powerless because it really is gonna be a problem until they turn around what our government's done.
Yeah,
And that'll take years, I think.
yeah.
And voters, so that's where the real power comes from. Voters gotta speak up and take action, because we were put in this place by them, and that's why, so I don't think it's falling on deaf ears. I think they're really powerless because there's not much they can do, because surely the same thing that cost our gas tanks to be so much is driving the power cost too, because they have to either coal, which they're trying to shut down, or natural gas.
Yeah, I can understand a 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10% increase, but a 30%.
Oh, it's unreal. I agree. I noticed it too.
I'm only 42 years old. In my 42 years, I've never seen anything that is going to hurt Dickinson County like this rate. We've not seen what's going to happen, and you probably won't see until March or April when folks start getting cut off. I've spoke to other supervisors today. I've talked from other counties, board members. I spoke to one county that is, whether they can do it or not, they're talking about using ARPA funds to give to the emergency management director to help pay some of these power bills. I just don't know what people are going to do. It's either buy food or pay your power bill. And I think we need to step up and
And you know, another thing I thought of, I did a lot of thinking on this today too. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But the other thing I thought of, right now, is when those folks need that money that was being handed out freely during COVID. Because now they are truly being impacted.
Yep.
This inflation is just gonna go crazy, and it's not gonna get better, because we already have predictions that their taxes, unless we are able to adjust it somehow, on their real estate's gonna change too next year.
Yeah.
After the assessment, which we still will have latitude to do something, or the next board will.
Yeah. I just want the county to be prepared for what I think is probably gonna happen over the next couple months. I
Yeah.
think you're gonna have people looking for shelter, more people looking for shelter. People can't afford to pay their bill. I just think we need to be prepared for what's coming over the next couple months. I talked to a couple today who had stated they've already received letters from AEP because they only paid half of their bill last month, and told them they were gonna be cut off. I know we're on the second bill, I believe, since the rate increase,
They
but
can't cut them off during cold weather, can they?
I don't know.
I don't think
I don't know.
they can cut them off till about April, can they?
Maybe that's something we can ask and
I
say,
think that's right.
but yeah, I
I
think it's
think
gonna
they'd
be.
cut you off if you were making payments. I mean, they give you the option sometimes to make payments.
Well, and that was one of my questions. How much debt is AEP going to allow folks to accrue before getting cut
I
off?
think that there is a temperature average that they have to cut it off. They can't cut it off during cold weather, I know that. But, now, there was a lady from AEP came the first or second term on the board. And AEP allows you to do a 12 months average. And your bill is basically the same 12 months out of the year, the same amount. And we did that after we retired, so we'd know how much our bill would be. And I talked to her in Richmond. She was in Richmond also at a meeting I was at. And she said that you don't have a settlement month. You just pay the same thing 12 months out of the year. And then in January, I think they refigure everything and average it. But our bill basically stays the same. Sometimes it'll vary a little bit.
Yeah.
And this time it only varied like $60, and we went days that our heat pump didn't cut off.
Yeah. I think we counted 54 online, just the people that posted, 54 over $1,000.
What's that, 54 what?
54 bills that were over $1,000.
Whoa.
Oh,
My
man, that,
sister's was 800.
I know
Does she not do the average?
some of these
She told me
trailers,
last, she said the bill this month was $800. I mean, when you got 5 children,
It shows on our bill, my bill was $500 if I'd have paid the monthly bill, but then I only paid 3 cents because I've got an average.
Yeah, and I understand that. It helps people budget through the
It
year.
helps you budget all year long.
I thought at the end of the year that you had to settle up.
No, they don't have a settlement payment on this. It's an average of 12 months.
Mine's
And these
average, too.
people that owe, they can call right now and get it set up.
Yeah, and I understand that. I understand that. But at the end of the year, you're
Still
still paying
makes
the
her
same
bill go
amount.
up, and it's very scary. I mean, when it becomes more than your house payment,
Yeah.
and I've talked, you've talked to a lot of people. We'll talk to them, but like Ron said, they're just forcing this on us. I mean, we're trying to with fossil fuels.
House, it's Murray Begley.
I shared,
is her name.
before we
need to
came
get
up
her
here, I
down.
shared an example to Larry about
Murray
how to
Begley,
fix,
we need to get her to come
of how to
again.
fix that problem with the
Explain
price of
that.
eggs. We just need to have our president have those illegal aliens carry a dozen across the border with them.
They don't have no eggs.
'Cause
I appreciate you hearing me out. That's my.
But no, you're right, it's a concern.
I went over my 3 minutes, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Sheriff.
you're fine. No, you're spot on, Jeremy, it is a concern.
I'm sure. Anyone else like to make a public comment? Go, yes, sir.
Terry Bartley, I live in Hayside, Virginia. I'm captain of the rescue squad down there. I'd like to add just a little bit to what Jeremy was talking about. Our power bill for the rescue squad this time was almost $1,400.
Man,
Now,
that's,
that's
what is it
1 month.
normally, Terry?
Huh? Normally,
Yeah.
It runs about 800.
Okay,
And I've got the heat set on 66 in one building, which is a truck building. The other building is set on 68. That's where we normally keep them. We have to have the truck building that warm to keep the drugs in the drug box from being froze or, damaged. They have to be above 58 degrees.
I'm ashamed to tell you what our power bill was because ours was higher, noticeably higher.
Well, mine
But I
was,
also heat with wood a lot too.
mine was at home, and actually my wife and I, except for 2 days, had our heat pump cut off. There was 2 days we ran the heat pump because we had grandkids there. Ours was over $400 at home with the heat pump cut off. All but 2 days. I heat with gas, propane, and that's all we used for the rest of the month.
The price of that's going up too, I would assume. I heat with, with the gas logs. If it hadn't been for my gas logs, I'd have been really up creek freezing, even with the heat pump running.
But we cut ours off. And it's hard to live like that, but, we're both retired, and we've gotta do what we gotta do. I've got a buck stove in a fireplace, but we've not used it because I've not been able to get out this year and get wood.
Get wood.
I've had to go.
Yeah, we've got
One thing that I'm wondering
Get Sean to
about,
get you wood?
Did you,
Can't get Sean to get you no
who'd
wood?
you talk to?
I'll get
Get
on that.
blood out of the
one of the things I'm wondering about is there's a lot of folks in the county that get heating assistance. Is there anything extra coming that way for those folks?
I think they had, I know, they have increased the amount they give for
Okay,
fuel
good.
assistance. Joe, I know, there's a man that ran out of wood and Joe went and bought him wood.
I don't think I would be qualified for fuel assistance if I worked in coal.
No, you wouldn't qualify.
Mr. Chair, for the record, I looked here, currently Virginia is only 1 out of 7 states that doesn't protect residents from getting their power or water shut off over unpaid bills during the extreme winter weather. They brought legislation last year, and it says again, it's going to be on the floor in 2023 to consider that legislation again, so.
Well, I find that interesting, and I'll share with you something that happened to me when I was substituting as a teacher. I had some kids misbehaving, a couple of them, and I sat down with them, made them eat lunch with me in the classroom. And I said, in a few years, you're gonna be growing up, you're gonna wanna get a car and drive, and then soon after that, you graduate high school, and you're gonna get a place to live and pay the electric bill. And this kid stopped me dead in my tracks, said, well, I'm not gonna pay no electric bill. My mama's got an oxygen machine. They'll never shut our power off. That was a 7th grader that said that. I was shocked.
Well, I'm gonna say, Chair, I don't wanna do that because my power bill doubled. And I'm a mountain man. $60 most of the time. Cause I burn one light and I watch Jeopardy and I go to bed. So it's $130 now.
Man.
I got my a little over $100 raise on Social Security, so they figured out some way to get it. Appalachia Power needs to be investigated, because I'm gonna tell you a story, and I hope I don't run over 3 minutes. My house burned in 2009. The first month, I paid the bill. The second month, they sent me a bill for $50. I called and asked them. I said, where'd you get these numbers at? Off your meter. I said, one of your workers looked at my meter. Yes, sir. We've done it. 13 years ago, I'm still waiting on the answer. I said, how did you get this number and my meter burn up? They can't tell me. But they would have kept charging me if I didn't go confront them. I think a lot of people's power bill would go down if, when they change the meters, I say, you got no proof now. Or if they change mine, it reads itself, so that's where we just need to start, checking them, making sure they're doing their job.
They don't have to make a visit to turn the power on or to turn it off. They can do it electronically.
But there's
ODP
something wrong.
went up too. I think I saw that.
I never. And my garage, the more I use it out there, the cheaper it gets. And I'm not gonna tell them that because I pay enough on my house.
For fuel assistance, a household of two, you can't have income more than $2,289 a month.
I know it's the threshold low and that.
But anyway, is there anybody else for public comment? Thank you, Mr. Bartley.
Has anybody called in, Adam?
So, in keeping with the theme for the power bill, so I just happened to look up online here the bill at my mother's place. And I think one thing, now the rate hike is what the rate hike is, and if it's up 30%, it's up 30%. But it does give you the numbers compared to the previous month and then the same month a year ago. And I did the calculation for January of 22 compared to January of 23. And we actually use 37% more electricity. You know, I think that the cold snap, I know we had -5 up there on the mountain. So that is adding to those excessive bills. And compared to December, so just last month, I didn't do the percentage, but December was 2,552 kilowatt hours. December is 3153, so you can still see it's a pretty good increase just from the previous month. I think that cold snap really has added to everybody's bill on top of the rate hike. So,
Yeah.
but what I would recommend, if it's within the board's authority, is to ask for reports from AEP related to how that, any measures that relate to the negative impact on our community. So number of disconnect notices, amount of accruing debt, so that we might be able to, raise the point in Richmond again about the difficulties we're having here. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh,
Anyone else? Any calls? All right, we're gonna move on then from public comment. We'll move on to item number 6, old business.
Here we
You
go.
got B
No.
on public.
No, I'm sorry, that's right, I don't have my addendum. We got B,
Yeah.
Mr. Powell, is he gonna do by phone?
Adam has him joined us virtually, and we have Ms. McCamus here as well.
Okay, is
so-
he ready? All right, well, we're ready for Mr. Powell then, I don't know if he can hear me.
Is he just gonna be on the phone and not?
Yeah, he's on.
Mr. Powell, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay, this is Mr. Evans with Board of Supervisors. We have come to your piece on the agenda. I'm not sure, Mr. Barton, if you want to facilitate the conversation, or
I
if
can.
Ms. Willis wants to, or
Whatever.
however.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Mr.
Thank you. So, Mr. Powell, thank you for joining us at the meeting tonight, especially on a short notice. We have Ms. McCamus, and Cassie, if you don't mind, can you come up and help us facilitate as well? Mr. Powell, of course, last month, Cassie shared with the board as far as where we were on the GIS project that we're working with your company on, as well as, the current contract that we have, the current status and progress being made on that. So I think some board members may have some additional questions, and this is a priority, wanting to try to get our GIS brought up to where it needs to be. And so we just want to have a moment of conversation here for you to kind of give us an update on where we are. Maybe we can discuss on, how we close this gap. So.
Okay, yeah, sure. As far as I know, I can answer any of your questions you need. I caught some of that. But as far as if you're looking for an update, I know so the project initially started with, it was aerial imagery with parcels drawn on top of it. And some of those imagery from back then were just orthophotography that wasn't really a reference to the Earth. So that's what, everybody has a different starting point. So we used those and we got those into a digital GIS format. And so the current part of what we're doing is going back and filling in the hole of any changes that happened between when those were drawn on and maintained up until the present day. So we have clerk of court access through login where we're going in. Cassie gave us a list of needs to pull. So we've been going through those. We're a little over halfway through those. That's kind of where we're at now. We were having a little bit of trouble finding the recent ones, but I talked to the clerk of court and she gave me another method to find, particularly a hint on how to find some newer ones and how sometimes flats are assigned, are attached to the deeds rather than, because we've been looking for flats only at this point, so, because they're a little easier to draw in. I don't know if that answered your question, but I'm open for any questions that you guys would have tonight, and of course, I'm always available afterwards as well.
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Powell, I worked in the commissioner's office 20-some years, 24, 25. And there was, when we first did those digital maps, they were done, I think, in 1987, 8, and I came in 88 full-time. I'd worked previously in 80 and we didn't have the maps. And then in 1988, when I came back, they had the maps. And we had to update all the sales off of that into a book. I don't know if those books are still in the commissioner's office or not, but every time that we had a sale from a tract, we had to keep an update in a book that we had to keep typed up. And we did it, once a year. Those books should be there for those sales, that's got like A, B, and C on those maps. On those digital maps, you'll find like some of the cells are A, B, and C, several different cells off the track. There was books in there with those on them. And also, there was some maps from a coal company, Clinchville Coal Company at that time. They were really updated also. They were in the commissioner's office. I get a lot of questions myself. Every time I'm out in public, I get phone calls wanting to know when our GPS is going to be up and running so that realtors mostly is who asks me. And I would like to know what you expect from our side. Do you expect anything from our side of the county? I mean, our employees or anything?
Kathy's been really well with kind of communicating like what she needs to happen, and I've been doing this for about 20 years. I have one person working on this job. He's got 35 years on this job. I don't know how many thousands of parcels I've put in personally. He has more experience than I do with deed research and stuff like that. So it's definitely a difficult starting point that we have here. The main thing is getting the real estate database to join to each parcel correctly. So as far as the timeline, it all depends on what you're comfortable with on when to start releasing the data. You could put this, it's usable. It's never going to be really perfect. Nobody is, because there's always going to be some errors that were built into the original data. But what you do is it's a living document and it's not static. So I always tell people when you commit to GIS with anything, you have to commit to maintain it. With anything, kind of like a car, if you don't take care of it, it'll just, finally fall apart. But if you, change oil and stuff like that in it, it might last a whole lot longer, depending on what car you buy. So I don't really have a timeline. I know we're working as hard as we can with the resources that we got. Like I said, what you're telling me, it sounds like that might be a wealth of resources that can help us along to fill these gaps in. But basically, I know what you need. You're wanting something on a GIS site, probably on a public-facing GIS site, where when somebody can look up their owner information, check their parcel out, have some value there. It looks like your commissioner revenue, I'm blanking on the real estate database that the company they're using, but we're really familiar with them. To have property cards tied together, that's kind of the same, because they're using the same company that Buchanan County and Amelia County is using. So we work with them a lot. So the main thing is we try to get the parcels drawn in as accurately as possible. We always try to start with survey plats because they have a coordinate geometry where you can actually draw them in. We actually draw them in based on that survey. Dealing with deeds are a little less accurate because you're dealing with, you find this apple tree and you go 100 feet or 60 chains in this direction, there's a rock there. That's kind of harder to deal with. So that's why we're tackling the plats first. And then hopefully over time, the parcel layer will get more accurate. The more time and more accurate data you get put in it. I think in Grayson County alone, I remember working on that, and I put in probably 30 parcels today alone myself. I probably put in about 4,000 survey plat parcels into their GIS. So it didn't start that way. It's just they started at a different point than you. When I was at Craig County, they showed me their maps from the 1980s, and it's the same thing. I think it was the Department of Taxation that did that. They flew an airplane and then drew parcels on top of them. So, and with red lines and things like that. So, as far as the timeline, we can roll it out at any point. Now, it's just you have to understand that, sometimes you'll click on a parcel, it might not have any owner information tied to it. That could be because it was just hard to read on the map that we had. And we flagged pretty much all the problems we had with anything that we did, just so that we could catalog it. But and there's some areas that are harder than others. That's what I'm saying. It's all the way your comfort level is to release that data. So the next thing we probably need to do is get a new real estate database. A lot of times we like to have that on a monthly basis because as newer plats go in, we want to be able to make sure they link up to the owner so that when it does get pushed out to the internet, that's correct. So there's a lot of moving parts, but I don't know, it's never done completely. It's just, I know what you're trying, I know what you want, but it's just going to take some time to get there. But you can release the data. You can open it up to your public if you want and allow them to, kind of investigate, like, oh, well, this is my property, and I can tell them what the map number is, and let me turn in my plat so I can get it drawn more accurately. So that, that's another way to use your citizenry to be a part of this, to make it more accurate. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Because I looked at my parcel myself, and we had give some to a son, and it wasn't on there. His one wasn't. And so,
Okay.
I mean, they surveyed their part out, so we know they've got a survey.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. It's mainly just whether it's on record, like, so I mean, we have a lot of success stories with this. Like, we have, you have the parcel there, you try to get it drawn as accurate as possible. The next part is how well you can get the real estate database, which is a total database, different database. You gotta link it up. So each parcel number is unique. So you just have to find that unique parcel number in a real estate database. So then when somebody clicks on that parcel, they get, the owner. And so when ownership changes hands, a lot of people, what we hear, they call us up, because we host a lot of websites. They'll call us up and they'll say, hey, I bought some property last month, but it still reflects the old owner. Well, we'll contact the client and say, hey, can you send us a new real estate database? And that fixes everything. So hopefully it gets to the point where if you do put it online and you want us to keep working at this, we come up with a kind of a system where that gets done more frequently. I mean, sometimes we update people's websites every month. Sometimes it's once a month. Sometimes it's once a quarter. It's all what everybody's comfortable with. But that's kind of the goal is what we're trying to do is just get yours as perfect as possible and get it to a point where you're comfortable to put it out on the web. That's where you want it to be. And it could be just even you have it internally in a secure site where only internal people can look at it. And it kind of can help them and they can help investigate it before you release it out to the citizens. I know in Craig County that's what we did. When we matched their real estate database up to their parcels, they have 20% of their parcels didn't match. Now it's sitting around 2%. And that's probably ever going to be better than 1%. Because there's always a delay from when you get the real estate database and somebody draws the parcel in the mapping. But it just takes a lot of work. So I don't want to commit to any deadline. We're working as fast as we can. And what I'm trying to do is keep it consistent, because if you have multiple people working on it, it just gets really cluttered. And I'd rather talk to one person who knows best, knows the system really well, and just that's that one go-to person. You don't have a lot of too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak. So that's kind of where that's at. But yeah, you can release it anytime. We pass the data to Cassie, so if you wanted to put it on a secure site, you can. We certainly need to probably get a new real estate database, but I can call the commissioner over tomorrow or Cassie and ask them about the books that you're talking about.
We only kept them for, I think we kept them through 2 commissioners, and then the next commissioner didn't keep them up, so.
Okay.
And I don't know, they've moved, and I don't know if they brought those books with them or not. So it would just be something you'd have to check on with the commissioner's office.
Okay, is there some key, like, what should I ask for?
Well, I'm not sure, we can't, like if we did a transfer and, on those, digital maps, you'll see A, B, and C, and D on, certain tracks. We kept those in a book, who owned A and who owned B and who owned C. And the acreage that each person got. But now where they brought those when they moved, I'm not sure. It'd just be something you'd have to check on.
Okay, so so we did run across, so sometimes, here's one instance where we found where there's like a parcel, and then in that parcel, there's just, not random numbers, but some kind of number system in there. It might be 29A, 29B, 29C.
That's what I'm saying, it's A, B, C, and D.
Yeah, but we don't know what those property inside, what the boundaries inside that looks like. So I guess sometimes localities would say, well, that's a piece of land, we know that's in there. So what we do is we usually just cut a circle or a triangle or something real small, just to have it be a placeholder. So what happens is when we find out who owns those, then at least when they do a parcel search on the GIS or something, it'll come up with something. And then when they zoom to it, they'll be like, oh, it's a circle, or why is it a circle, why is it a triangle? And then that kind of hopefully triggers them to contact Commissioner Rono or mapping, the person who does the mapping, and say, hey, I have a plat for this. And that's when you really get, make things change. But
there should have been about 4 to 6 years of those books that were typed up. After we did all the transfers, we typed those books up on the sales.
Okay.
Whether or not they still have them, I don't know.
Okay. Well, so we'll look into the real estate database. Maybe they can put up in the real estate database. Everybody does a real estate database different. Sometimes what they do is they have one master parcel number, and then over in the description field, it'll say also owns lot A, B, C, and D. So what you have to do is you have to do some jump through some hoops to make that match, because it's like so your map number, I know you understand that, so the map number is like a social security number. All we're trying to do is find that social security number in that database. If it has one master number and then it says also owns A, B, C, and D, all those A, B, C, and D parcels won't find a match. So what we have to do is we take the real estate database and we basically copy that record 2 or 3 more times, and it'll be like, so instead of being 29, it'll be 29, and then it'll be 29A, 29B, 29C. So when it joins, it's the same owner, but at least it joins with something. And, I don't have the real estate database in front of me for you, but that's what a lot of people do. And I mean, we've definitely dealt with it, and we've gotten people where it's joined up. But the main thing is just trying to, figure out what goal you want to be at in 3 or 4 months or 6 months, and then see if what your comfortable level is to put it out there on the web. And it might be you just have a secure site internally where everybody gets to view it internally, and maybe the board agrees, okay, let's push this out. Craig County, they waited until they were down to 5%. And the Commissioner of Revenue's office, we helped them do this. They did a lot of the work. We helped them with all the parcel mapping, but when we said, hey, this one doesn't match, they would say, oh, well, that goes with this one, and so that kind of helps us out. So we spent a year. They just had a secure website that they'd go in, and we helped them get it down to I think it was 5 or 4%, and now they're below 2%. They're sitting at 1.85% matches, and some of those matches are, there might be a state-owned property that's not in the real estate database, or maybe it's an AEP property that's not in the real estate database. But if you tell us that's who owns it, that's considered a match. That's how we're doing it in Greenfield County, which is on the far eastern side of where Emporia is. They're basically 100% match because that's how they're doing it. So yeah.
Well, let someone else ask a question if they need to.
I have a question.
Sure.
I got
Ron
a question, and this would
Peters.
involve Shelby some too. I assume that, and this is where I go to you, Shelby, when they're doing permitting for these gas wells and stuff, that goes through the Commissioner of Revenue's office, doesn't it?
Yes, it
Don't they
does.
have to show surveys and stuff like that, or mapping?
I'm not sure,
I'm asking because I don't know.
I'm not sure about that. either.
Okay. Where I'm kind of wondering for you is, what do you guys see other counties
Used to
doing
be
to
in the
kind
building
of,
department when I
because we
was
have survey problems too. Is there anything that other communities are doing to kind of piece this together? Because a lot of us, because of the industry here, like the gas well folks, I'm familiar with this, they know where your land is because they've had to survey it out and stuff like that. Is there anything that they're doing to kind of collect their data to kind of help with the problems we have with old surveys and stuff?
Other than just, I do need to talk to the Commissioner of Revenue and the Clerk of Courts about if there's any kind of, something on the book about, is a survey plan, in a part of your, I'm blanking right now. but
It's in your lease. I know you're in a circle on your leases, and they're mapped out perfectly on your lease with the gas companies. They put you in a circle, and that circle is mapped out.
Okay. Yeah, if there's a way to collect all, I'm all game for just trying to collect, within legality, to collect as much information as possible. If there's companies out there that have big land that have surveys already done, that's certainly we can, you can send that in to us and we can map it in. And so what happens is when you might get a survey, you'll get a survey, and it'll have the adjoining parcel IDs beside it. And then that might be a parcel ID that we couldn't figure out what it was. And then right there, that fixes that one. So the more plats you get, especially that have adjoining, how the line work around it joins to it, meets up with it, where they connect corners, the more you do that, that causes an anchor point in the mapping. So I know in Grayson County, all those 3,500 or 4,000 parcels that I've put in or we put in, we know exactly where they're at. So, and we know exactly when we put them in. So if somebody comes in and says, hey, that parcel's not right, within reason it's close. Nothing on a GIS layer, I'll go ahead and tell you, and you probably know this, but a GIS layer online is not a legal document. There's a lot of stuff that goes in until surveyors start taking a survey grade GPS point of 2 corners on their plat. It'll never be 100% accurate. Now the line work, the geometry, the way you draw it will close and be perfect. But the way you anchor it, the only way you anchor it is to look at stuff on imagery. So, you look for fence lines or creek beds, and with the imagery, the resolution of the imagery, you could be off, 5 or 10 feet on where you place it. So that's why it's not, you look for fence lines and fertilized grass, you just use everything. So, but putting that anchor in, that survey plat is like a accurate anchor, and then that helps. So the more of those things you have scattered out throughout the county, the more accurate your data, your GIS parcel there will be. So, and I'm hoping, it's not a sprint. It's just gonna take some time, and I know Dickinson County, there's only one county left in Virginia that doesn't have digital parcel layer, and I've been talking to them for probably like 7 years. We're doing all their E911 work for them and helping them out that way, because they went through a couple vendors that didn't help them. But I'm hoping eventually we can help them do their parcels. So, it's just going to take some time and some commitment, but it's definitely the more parcels that we do with a survey plat, the more accurate it'll be. And then of course helping, get some assistance from the personnel there, when we have a question, like we don't know what this parcel's not matching up, can you tell us why? And they say, oh, well, that's the wrong idea, it's actually this one. So, and a lot of the, some of those, the way you interpret the maps where hand-drawn, they have like a little bit of squiggle in them and they're kind of old, and so sometimes it's hard to read some of those parcel IDs. But we marked all the ones that, so in the GIS we can mark like, hey, this one we're 100% accurate of the parcel ID and the location, and this one we're only 8% for the parcel ID. So we can go back and look. But the data giveaway is when you join the real estate database and you'll see all the ones that don't have a match. And so every month when we do parcel work, we run what's called a parcel join analysis, and it'll tell us how many that don't join and what the parcel ID that we're trying to join, and it tells the percentage. If you have like something like the website like we have, we can actually give you a link. So all you gotta do is click on the link and it'll zoom right to the parcel, and then you're like, oh, well, I'm familiar with that. I know who lives there, and so that's kind of how it works. I mean, it just takes a little bit of time.
Well, hey, this is Ron Peters again. And I'm not sure what's known and what they do, but I think if you get a modern survey, they use GIS, don't they? And I've had one of those done, and they went and actually pinned the property instead of following the big oak tree and all that stuff. They went back and pinned it all and all that. But the reason I mentioned what I said before is because I have a large property that isn't done like that, but them gas well people pretty much know to come see me, even when it changed hands to my name. They knew who to contact, and they came and seen me. They go back to the ancient maps where it was real large parcels of land, and they link it back to that, from what I understood. But I don't know how accurate that is.
I know there's thousands of people that's got leases in the county that they put you in a circle, and that circle is drawn out. I will get Cassie a copy of my circle and let her look at it.
I've seen those. So.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the more
But I'm seeing
resources we have, the
mine
better.
to help with that area, cause it's,
Well,
oriented the ridge.
I have a question. Rhonda Sluss, last time you were here, Cassie, you mentioned something about, was it 60%? Am I thinking right?
And that was that they were about 60% through the list from the clerk's office.
From the clerk's office.
So,
Because they're a little over half. So,
Mr. Powell, if I may ask you, I know that we are behind on this, and our county is way behind compared to probably Wise County or Buchanan County. What do you foresee, and this board has appropriated, is it $70-some thousand?
$72,000.
$72,000. What do you see as, I know you said you can't give us an exact date, and I understand that. How long do you see this being up to speed with, let's say, Wise County or Buchanan County?
Are you talking about just the parcel layer, or do you have in general, like all the mapping in general?
All the mapping in general. She said 60.
Okay, I'll start with the parcel layer. So, and just to elaborate on the parcel layer, we were having trouble finding certain dates. So what we're doing is trying to work backwards through the list that Kathy gave us. So you're going back in time. So you start at the newest and work back. For some reason, we couldn't find the newest stuff up through, so the earliest we could find it was 2009. So the further you go back, the quality of what was what's stored in the clerk of court is gets worse and worse as you go back in time, and that's normal because there's better instrumentation, there's better ways to record stuff, better ways to document stuff. So what we're going to do is just start working on. So we figured out how to search like the newer stuff. I was talking to the clerk of court, and she gave us a hint or two. And we actually found a couple, some more. There's probably, from that list that Kathy's got, I think there's like 60 plats. And so the other thing is any new plats that are coming in that are not on that list, or if there's any other list where we can just start looking at newer plats within the last 10 years or last 5 years, just anything that we can, just grab. So that's the first thing. So that's what we're tackling on that. As far as the mapping overall, Buchanan, so we do Buchanan's as well, and they had the same problem with their parcels. Part of it is just, working with what you have, and so they send us updates, pretty much monthly. They'll send like 1 or 2 or 3 updates, and we just knock them out. Now we're maintaining their parcels. So right now, what we're doing for you is just trying to just get caught up with everything. But what I'm also saying is, like any new parcel, just go ahead and send them, because that might help a parcel that, from 8 years ago. It might take, so it just gets, so that's why I'm saying the more we do, the better. Now, Buchanan County is set up for we do it hourly. So we just have this ongoing fee. Like it's just an hourly rate. They just send us stuff, and we bill them, as we go stuff. So sometimes it's $0, sometimes it only be $500. The way you guys have it is like a lump sum for for the whole year. And so what we're trying to be cognizant about is to leave some money for everything else, because I know the county bought a license, temporary license agreement through Esri, the mapping company. And so I know that costs a lot, but it doesn't give you anything. It's just you have to create it. It gives you the license to create it all. And so we have an earmark in the accounting department to leave a couple $1,000 left over. And I'm not saying that's where you should put the money, but I just want to make sure that if you want to do that, there's money there. I don't know if you can generate some more money or have some money at the end of the year that you want to allocate to, but you can definitely build it. It's not a sprint. I always tell people you don't have to throw a lot of money at it quick. You can, it all depends on what speed you want, but you can build it the way you want. Like, what things that are happening locally on the ground that will help you. So, there's all this stuff you can do with mapping. I mean, it's just, when we do next gen 911 stuff, we've done census data work, but you should have E911 mapping already done. It should, I believe, we're not maintaining that. Somebody is, I don't know if that's Kathy or some other third-party vendor, but you do have that. That should be maintained at all times for the state to meet the state's, approval. But the parcel is going to take some time. So, but 98% of the people who use an online site, that's what they want to see. They're selling houses, they're looking at other people's lands, they're, trying, so it's just, that's what a lot of people want to go there and see. If you have zoning ordinances, you can build a layer for that. I don't know if that, I talked to Kathy about, maybe she could talk to some people around there and just come up with some ideas on how, I can tell you how other people are using it, to spark some ideas, but, if you want to build a GIS, I think, we need to build it to what you need, what answers some of the questions that you might have, to articulate through mapping. It could be a amount of anything. So I know you're just getting started out in GIS, but, there's a lot of people who are just getting started out. And some people are behind and some people are ahead and some people spend a whole lot more money, but, it's just, it just gotta fit for what you need, so. And that's kind of what I'm not a big salesperson, I just like helping people, so I try to listen to what their needs are and just cater to that. And then hopefully, people like us and they just keep us on board to help them out to the next, get them to the next step. So that's my process, so. I don't know if that answers your question, but.
You got any more
Did
questions?
anybody else get this email that I got? Anybody else get an email? It said the board may want to consider making a formal request to the energy companies in the county to share all their survey data to help our county build a robust GIS system. I don't know where it came from.
I just texted
You did? Okay, good. He's made a good point here. Where he says the board may want.
Yeah, and just,
Go ahead.
The main thing is, we were allotted a certain amount of money and eventually that money will run out. So the more work you want us to do, we just need to make sure there's funding available or training available or somebody who's there to keep going, because, that's the main thing is, I think, I would say you're just over, because we've done some work since the Kathy had sent me an email about some of your questions you had, and I've thrown some stuff together, like figure-wise, because I figured you guys would want that. But yeah, so you're just a little over halfway through. You probably have around $6,000 or $5,500 left. So yeah, it just, somebody says, hey, spend all that money on parcels, and that's what we'll do. If you want to leave 1,000.
Mr. Powell, are you saying you're 60% finished, or you got 60% of the parcels identified? Are you at 60% in the county?
So I'm talking about how much money that was allotted.
Yeah, I know that, but are mapping up to 60%, is that what you said?
No, the amount of parcels drawn, it's almost done. There's a couple, like one or two gaps. We could fill them in, but it might be a large acre parcel owned by a gas company or a coal company. We just need to fill it in. I can send you screen captures, but I'm looking at it right now. But yeah, there's a few gaps here and there. But I would say the parcel layer itself is about 95% filled. So now I have to talk about the real estate database because that is pretty important. I don't have the figures on what how much that join is. Is it 80% join? 80% of the parcel is joined. I don't have that figure right here in front of me, but that's something I can get because we can draw the parcel layer, looks like a puzzle, and we can say it's your parcel layer, but it doesn't make a difference if it doesn't have like the ownership accuracy on it. That's what everybody's looking for. So we can join it together, and I'll probably reach out to Kathy and the Commissioner of Revenue to see if we can get another real estate database update, and I can join it and run it through the analysis that we're talking about and see how many don't match, and then we can provide you a list of the ones that don't match. And, you know, it could be that maybe the number when we looked at it on the map, it was hard to read and it was a guess, or maybe we just read it wrong. And, or we just didn't know when we left that parcel in blank. Sometimes you run across ones where they were blank, or sometimes they were hard to read. Sometimes we didn't know the map number, like the actual map it was on. We knew the, so yeah, there's just I think that's pretty much the most important part. But as far as the graphic on the parcel map, about 90% of it is done, or 95% of it's done. Right now, we're going through and just filling in that gap of whenever it was not maintained on the digital scans to current day. So that's what I was saying, any plat that we get between now, from today backwards, you know, if it was a year ago, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, the more we can get, the better accuracy we're going to get with this, and then the more success rate when somebody clicks on their parcel or actually sees their parcel, they'll say, hey, that resembles sort of what a parcel looks like, and they're happy, and then you can click on it and, you know, and see that the owner information is there. And of course, any information, once you get it on the mapping, you know, you could redact information here, you know, that you wouldn't want the general public to see if you didn't want to do that. I mean, if everybody has different things that they want to display on public mapping, if you do want to do something like that. But I think the parcel map is about 90% done, or close to 95%, and then, but I don't have the figures on the real estate one, but I can get you that. I just want to get a
thank
new
you.
real estate database before I do that.
Anybody else got any more questions for you?
I want to ask Paul, you raised an interesting thing here. What do you think about this? Explain it a little bit more to me. What energy companies are you
I'm
talking
just
about?
thinking about we know we have a lot of energy companies that own a lot of land in the county. And if it's part of their process, they do surveys, and then they have that data.
Yeah, that's the gas well people do.
Yeah, gas well, primarily gas.
Could we
well.
could we request their,
Can the board make a formal request to those counties? They may not be obligated.
would that help you, Cassie?
Cassie, I think we got the layer from Daniel Kestner at Department of Energy, which would include all that.
I
We
almost
have that
wonder
layer
if the
that we
Conservancy doesn't have something similar.
We provided, it's all been provided.
Okay, good.
They have
That's why
to,
we're as far in drawn as we are, is because the Nature Conservancy stuff and the gas wells. and
gas wells have to
We've got-
record that with
We've got all
DMV.
that.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, and then we
And
talked
Daniel
about a
Kestner
little
gave us
bit
that
last
layer.
time.
So we are making
Now, they are the
progress.
maps that Clinchfield gave us, and I'm sure they still have those.
And I think those were included in, because Lehman kept track of all of
Okay,
that and
all right.
had done quite a bit of that work through the engineering department in CAD, which
Okay.
he transferred over.
Okay, he probably
And
already had
all
that
of
done.
That's why we sent I think we were 65% complete drawn parcel. And what Hurt and Profit were starting on was all filling in the other 30-some%, which now Brian says we're at about 90. So,
Well, that sounds like a good report to me.
Mr. Chairman, you want to ask if there's any more, or just let him go?
I don't have anything. Ms. Kaiser, do you have anything
No,
for Mr.
There was
Powell?
some, I had some thoughts and he answered those as he went through there that I wrote down, so I'm fine.
All right, thank you, Mr. Powell.
Okay,
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
thanks for having me, and if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out. If you need me to speak again, just reach out. I enjoyed interacting with you, and hope you guys have a nice evening.
Yes, sir,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. McAmus.
Okay, bye.
That takes us to old business, 6A.
Well, let me ask you one question, Mr. Chairman. Do we not have to close public comment?
I don't think so.
No, you don't
Just
really.
move
We don't
on.
have to.
Okay,
Mr. Sturgill, we
It's
can
not
just-
required.
You're right.
okay.
It's not required, it's
Okay.
some we do it and some don't.
All right, 6A, lease to the Flemingtown Church trustees. This is something we do annually. I know we talked a lot about just conveying this property to them, but I don't know why we didn't, but we just do this lease every year, so. Is there any questions or concerns about this parking area for their church?
I don't have a concern, I'd just say one thing, we should see it 60 days before.
brother.
and make sure that the attorney, I think we need to start having a standard lease
why
that
don't we
we
just give it to
cover
them?
all
I
that.
don't know why we don't.
Yeah, we have to
There
do
was
this
a
every
reason.
I think that they were saving.
Because they can't own it or something, it takes, they fix their 501c or something.
They,
I don't,
I doubt that
to
church.
do with town water.
something. But anyway, is there any motion to approve the lease?
I make a motion that we give the lease to the Flemingtown Church.
Do you have any concerns about it, Mr. Peters?
No,
Okay.
I
I'll
just wanna
second
get
it.
to where we.
All those in favor?
Mr. Chair, before you vote, I just ask our attorney here on page 1, Article 2, the term of the lease, 2.1, states the term of this lease shall be 1 year with automatic renewal until such time as terminated by the parties as outlined herein.
So we shouldn't have to redo
wouldn't
it,
have to.
maybe we
We should.
don't need to do it now.
I don't think we really have to take,
Well, let's do it to be safe. and-
You can do it again this year since you all have done it in the past, but, you know, for future purposes.
Yeah, it doesn't
Sounds
change.
It automatically renews.
My
should be-
concern is there's consistency in it, and we're not required to reimburse for permanent improvements that they make on it, because we're really giving it to them for nothing anyway.
They just like gravel, I think.
They've used it.
All right, is there a motion to, let's just go ahead and approve it and,
Yeah,
I made the
I'll
motion
second
and
it.
she
all right,
seconded.
all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. As well. Takes us to item 7, new business. We have a memorandum between us and the Southwest Regional Recreation Authority. Are there any concerns or questions about that memorandum?
Mr. Chair, this is the same memorandum of understanding that we passed last year. Nothing has changed in it. And that basically has to do with their authority to do the conduct trail maintenance on the trail. So
Is there any motions in regard to this?
Make a motion that we still have the memorandum of agreement that we had, same as last year.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, or is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. We have item B, 7B, the Merrill Fuller property. Mr.
Here's your
Barton,
map.
you want to explain that?
Cassie.
I can. This is an item that we tabled from last month, and of course, we shared this map out with you and information. Basically, the school had purchased this Merrill Fuller property from the family back when they were looking for a location for locating the elementary school in the Haysai area. It was one of many parcels that they needed to acquire. This was purchased using the school construction funds, and under Virginia code, it does allow them to sell this land and retain the proceeds if the Board of Supervisors gives them authority to do so. And they're asking to sell this and that the proceeds go back into the construction funds for the for the construction of the new elementary school.
I don't have a problem with that. I'll make the motion to approve it.
Is there a second?
I would like to, I don't care to second it, but I don't think they should sell it for any less than they paid for it. I think that should be their minimum bid on it.
I would agree with you, Shelby, but I think in this case, they're gonna be required to put it out for bid. It's not gonna go back to the owner
Well, you can
unless they
start,
do the highest bid.
You can start a bid at a certain amount.
I'll be
Yeah, you
honest
can
with
do that,
Do you know how
but-
that works, how they'll be able to sell it?
I don't.
I don't even.
I think they would have to
Because
be.
we've got a starting price on the surplus properties that we've got advertised.
I don't think we can put any sort of, my understanding of this, we couldn't put any sort of restrictions or covenants or
And that's true. It's just whether we gave them.
we give them the authority to do it. I don't think we can. I mean, I agree with everything you're saying, but I just don't think we can.
I
I
mean,
mean, why would you sell it for less than what you paid for it?
Well, honestly, right now, it's serving the schools no benefit or no potential future benefit for that. They paid $18,000 in 2014 for the 5.08 acre lot.
So it still
And-
must
The
be
thing-
worth that much.
I guess my initial druthers on this,
Hands went down.
if it had potential for us, it's surplus, it should come back to the county, but in this case, since they paid for it with construction funds, I'm okay with just doing it. You know, because I think they're gonna have to go out open bid, and there's really not gonna be, the person that's buying it, if it's the previous owner, they're gonna know what they're gonna bid.
I'll be honest, I'm not sure they have to do it that way.
I don't
I
think
think they
they
can
do.
just sell it to
They
whoever they
don't?
want.
I do not think they have to.
No,
They don't have to sell it, but,
no, they don't have to bid
but
it
we
like
have,
auction.
oh,
Except for a fixed price, or they can.
I mean, they could buy it, I could buy it, I mean, or whoever,
Yeah, I think.
theoretically.
Correct.
I think they've got a prospective buyer, is my guess.
well, it's the
I
previous
don't-
owner's family.
Well, that's right, so.
But I'm not questioning that, but they don't have to go out for bid?
Well, the previous owner got that amount for it.
To my
We're not-
knowledge, they would not have to automatically go out to bid for that.
There's a difference between selling, so if the county is gonna pay for a service, then yes, you would bid that, but they're selling something.
Oh, and I had been previously told they would, but it's not an issue for me. It's just, no one's gonna pay for it for above the market right now.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Ultimately, I would think that the school board would be looking to be able to get the most money they could for the
Yes,
property,
yes.
period. But as far as whether
Right,
there's
we
a
sell it.
particular method that they have to use to do that, I do not think it's dictated by the Virginia Code.
Bottom line is, do we wanna allow them to sell it or not?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So is there a motion? You made a motion, right,
Yeah.
Ms. Peters?
I'll
Ms.
second.
Willis, did you second it?
No, Rhonda did.
I'll
Okay,
second.
Ms. Slus second it. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye as well. C, we have an item in our packet, I had requested this, it's a Watch for Children sign in the Cutter Creek section of Dickinson County. This roadway, is actually splits mine and Ms. Slus's district, but this residence that asked for it is in my district, so, it's toward the end of Cutter Creek, and they have asked that I see if VDOT would allow them to have this sign, so that's what this resolution is for,
You want me to make a motion
if
for
you
you?
wouldn't mind.
I make a motion that we, ask VDOT to approve this, Watch for Children sign for Willis District.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
As well. We have the Virginia Juvenile Community Crime Control Act. Mr. Barton or Mr. Sturgill, do you all want to elaborate on that any?
I will. On this, thank you, Mr. Chair. The Highlands Juvenile Detention Alternatives Program, according to the cover letter sent with this, every 2 years in the past, the board has had to adopt this. And what it is, Washington County serves as a fiscal agent for all the localities in Southwest Virginia. They receive the money. And then us, along with Smith, Lee, Scott, Wise, Buchanan, Tazewell, and Russell, and the cities of Bristol and Norton,
Oh. No, that's
are in this program together with them, and the passage of this current resolution
pass it down.
would maintain our position with that and authorize them to serve as fiscal agent for us, and we would not have to continue renewing this each 2 years, this current one.
Thank you, Mr. Barton. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about this resolution?
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. As well, Madam Clerk. That brings us to D, the Clinchco Fire Department property.
Mr. Chair, when we had this on the agenda, we thought we were ready to move on this, but I had a conversation on Friday with Ms. Schulenberger from the Corps, and they have asked us once again to table this until they make the determination of the property at the Clinchco Fire Department before we actually change title on this property. They want to make sure that they determine that it is eligible to participate and to be relocated prior to us conveying the property, so we will ask to table this again.
Yes, sir. So I don't think we need any motion
No, I
or
don't.
vote. We'll just pass D then. Go to item E, Hayside Rescue Squad surplus property.
Mr. Chair, of course, the board a couple months ago had declared a list of surplus property that the county owns and vehicles surplus, and we're actually in the process of bidding for those right now. And of those vehicles, on the second page in our packet, there's a 2009 Chevrolet Trailblazer listed on there, with the last four of the VIN being 6738, with mileage of approximately 225,000 miles. Hayside Rescue Squad has expressed interest in this vehicle. It would benefit their squad as far as, if they need lifting help or ALS backup by being able to put this in their fleet, and they're asking the county to consider donation of this vehicle to them instead of selling it for surplus.
Can we do that? Well, I'll make a motion that we
I'll second it.
donate to them.
Absolutely. Any other discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
As well. Brings us to appointments. Number one is the vacancy left by Dr. Center on the Cumberland Airport Commission. I would like to submit Mr. Joe Short's name into consideration for this appointment. And I'll leave the floor open for
Flying
other
now.
nominees. Do what?
The show flying
He's still got
now.
his plane.
Really?
He's starting back a little bit.
I
And-
wouldn't know who'd put on it.
Well, that's, I didn't know either. and
I didn't know Joe flew
I
plane.
talked to him
Yeah.
today and he said he would be, happy to serve and interested in serving, and so
I make a motion that we appoint Mr.
all right, well, let's
Joe
see, is there
Short.
any other nominations for the, this appointment? All right, so we have a motion to appoint Mr. Short, and I'll second that. Any other discussion on Mr. Short's appointment to this board?
I think you have to have somebody that's interested in aviation to,
And and I talked to him a lot about it, and he said he would be interested very much in serving on it, so.
okay.
It's good.
Oh, that's good.
All those in favor for Mr. Short, please say aye.
Aye.
As well. That brings us to the Lonesome Pine Soil and Water appointment. And I note in the packet, Mr. Glenn Graham is eligible and recommended to serve on this again. I know Mr. Graham does a wonderful job with this and is a great person and is an asset to that board.
Sure is.
But if there's any other nominees, or, well, we need to, I guess, formally nominate Mr. Graham.
I'll nominate Mr. Graham. He's a great person.
I'll second it.
There we go, so no other nominations for that. All those in favor to appoint Mr. Graham, please say aye. Aye. As well. Item three, or appointment three, Southwest Virginia EMS Council Board of Directors. Mr. Kendrick's eligible for that again, I believe, is that right?
I'll make a motion, we approve him.
I'll
Are there-
second it.
Before we vote, are there any other names that would like to be placed into consideration? Okay, we have motion and second for Mr. Kendrick. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. As well. We have the BASAP Board. I meant to text Mr. Mullins today to see if he wanted to be back on that, and I didn't. I don't know if anybody else has a name, or I think Mr. Mullins does pretty good and was willing to serve, I'm sure. Is there a motion for Mr. Mullins or
I'll
anybody
nominate
else?
Mr. Mullins.
I'll second it.
Any other names for nominee, or any other nominees for this board? All those in favor of Stephen Mullins for the BASAP Board, please say aye. Aye. As well. Brings us to five, the Crooked Road Board of Directors.
Is that Rita?
Rita Surratt.
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Rita.
Is there
I'll
any
second
other,
it.
any other names or nominees for this, board? All those in favor of Ms. Surratt, please say aye.
Aye.
As well. That brings us to item six, the Cumberland Plateau Regional Waste Management Board. It's my understanding that the appointment of Mr. Rasnick is up. I would like to put Ms. Rhonda Sluss's name into consideration for this appointment. Ms. Sluss has a degree in environmental science, has a history with the Department of Health, and has expressed an interest in this board since her service on this board, so I think she'd be a tremendous asset on it. And I would note that I think all other counties, Russell and Buchanan, have their two representatives are Board of Supervisor members. Mr. Rasnick, and I'm not holding that against him as far as that goes. I'm sure he does a great job, but I think
So
Ms.
who made the
Sluss.
motion?
I did. I put her name into consideration, so you
Yeah,
can make.
I would recommend we stick with Mr. Rasnick, cause we got a contract this year, and
He's
Damon
been on
has
the
the
board since
history
it started,
of
so
the
he's got
board
the
from when it
history.
started. And
Well, that's fine with me.
All right, so you want your name to be voted on or not?
Well, I mean, I don't want to interfere with anything with their board. I know he does a good job, so it's fine. I can withdraw. I mean, you can withdraw.
Well, I mean, do you want to vote on it or not?
Not really. I want to vote. I want it vote.
All right, well,
to-
I'm putting Ms. Sluss's name in, and then we have Mr. Peters' name in, so I'm gonna roll
No,
call.
Mr. Peters
I mean,
is
already
Mr.
on.
Rasnick's name in.
Ron's already on.
So Ms. Sluss's was first, so we'll vote on Ms. Sluss first. Ms. Willis, how do you vote on Ms. Sluss's
Oh, I'm
appointment
gonna
to this
vote no
board?
because I'm gonna vote for Damon,
Ms.
because he's
Sluss.
done a great
I'll
job.
have to vote yes for myself.
Ms. Kaiser,
No.
Mr. Peters,
No.
I vote yes, so it would be 3-2 for her nomination. We have Mr. Rasnick's vote, Ms.
Do you
Willis.
have to have a second on him?
You do
I
not,
don't think so.
not for a nomination.
Okay.
Ms. Willis,
I vote for, yes for Damon Rasnick.
Ms. Sluss,
Yes.
Ms. Kaiser,
Yes.
Mr. Peters.
Yes.
And yes for me as well.
Damon has been there since he started. He's got the history and all of it. When Damon stopped, I wouldn't care for you to take it.
All right, Standards Committee,
He's
I don't even really know what that
just-
does personally.
It works, we've not, it's not an actual committee right now, we need to be, but pretty well sets the standards between the E911 operations with the surrounding counties.
I'm
Is there
sorry.
names for nomination for that?
The standard committee.
One's the
The
best
standard
typical
committee-
what's on there.
Well, what is it they do exactly?
We're to work with, this is still relevant, it's more relevant then, but as far as like with 911 and our local counties surrounding us, kind of sets a standard as far as working with other counties for cooperation and work.
Well, Stephen Powers is their 911 director, isn't he?
He is,
They
yes.
call him what?
Tigger.
Tigger.
Tigger. Mary Sumner used to be, but she's not a,
I think the last time I saw her on Facebook, she lives in Tennessee now.
well, who is that?
I think she's local, I think still.
Is she back local? She
think
was
so.
in Tennessee.
She used to be a dispatcher, didn't she?
She did.
Yeah.
She was added
Deputy.
new,
Could we put another dispatcher on there? I mean,
I think it's the board's pleasure here, they would like to
you know him.
to put on this.
John.
Yes, so who's on it now? Forgive me.
Me,
Larry,
Tigger, and Mary
Stephen.
Sumner.
Cassie, would you like to serve?
Cassie, would you like to serve on that board, Cassie?
Y'all have anybody else in mind?
I had somebody, but that's
go ahead.
Cassie's fine. No, it's fine. I
Okay, I
think
nominate Cassie McCamus.
All right, I'll second it.
You know
Anybody-
enough about 911 to,
All those in favor of Ms. McCamus serving on this, please say aye. Aye as well.
I think Cassie would be good because she.
Don't we have to vote
worked
on the other
911.
two now?
She knows.
We have to vote on the other two as well because everybody's
Is
term was
open.
expiring.
So there are two
I'll
other
make a
names.
motion that we reappoint Larry Barton and Stephen Powers back to the Standards Committee.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye as well. That brings us to other business, 8B. This is the idea or consideration of forwarding Sandy Ridge their fourth quarter allocation early. Is there any?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Peters and myself met with Sandy Ridge Fire Rescue Squad for a lengthy discussion last Thursday night. We had a meeting scheduled with Miss Willis as well at 3 o'clock, but they were working a tractor-trailer accident and were delayed getting here. But, they shared with us, they have improved on their call. Their call volume has picked up and less calls that they've turned down. So they're trying to bring the squad back around to where it needs to be. Mr. Indicith and his wife both are working this, in lieu of their full-time job and trying to build up the roster. They have a lot of members in training, but right now they're kind of in a lurch, kind of like Clintwood before with their billing. It's just where we're starting a new year. They're going to be late March, April with funding coming in for this January, February, and their counseling. So they're just we are asking to consider go ahead and give them their fourth quarter allocation.
Yeah, and that's kinda how we approach it.
Are both of them working for that, their Sandy Ridge, being
They are.
paid?
They are right now. They don't have a lot of funding to pay with, but they are.
We looked at
Well, I
trying
got
to
him to
make,
talk to him, he was working for somebody in Wiles County.
this.
trying to make,
have
be
it on.
consistent with what we did with Clintwood and that.
Well, I don't have any problem with that, I just
Yeah.
wonder how come they're, both of them is getting paid. It's sort of strange.
Most squads are doing that right now.
Did you get a copy of that deed?
I did, and I sent this I should have got an email on that. I sent that out to you, but
Oh,
It's hard to
okay.
read.
I don't remember.
it's hard to
seeing
read.
it.
It's hard to
It's a little
read.
blurred as far as what's
Yeah.
that scanned copy, but
Oh,
it does have
need
that
of what?
provision in there that says they have to maintain their status as a volunteer rescue squad.
Yeah.
It goes back to Bice was the one
Yeah.
to give the land,
Yeah, Bowden.
Bowden Bice.
No, AC gave the land.
AC
Bowden's
gave,
his only
well,
child.
Bowden is his only child.
Did you have something that you wanted to say, Mr. Evans?
See if I can get permission to speak.
Yes, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I talked to Jeremy, the captain of Sandy Ridge this past weekend, and they said they would donate that ventilator to us if we're starting to make some transfers, if we could use it.
Yeah, and-
We discussed that as well.
And Jeremy's supposed to be bringing that actually to me tomorrow. He messaged me this evening, so.
I told him I would mention it.
Yes.
You know, here's the thing, and what initially, they didn't want one, and we bought one for Clintwood. So the natural thing was Clintwood could use it in the second vehicle, but you don't have one, so that made sense to us, and that's why.
And we are starting to do it.
Yes, and the thing that came out new when Gracie came here, it was because of your shortage of personnel. I did not know that previously,
So
so.
we're starting to pick up.
Yep, we're good. Right.
Is there a motion to expedite that appropriation, or?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
As well. That brings us to item 8C. This is a resolution that I drafted quickly today. I hope you all had time to read it. And it's,
Well, I'm sorry, I have.
Have you had a chance to review it, Will?
I have, and I
Okay,
think it looks
good.
excellent.
it's symbolic, it's probably powerless, but it does at least reflect us
Take that
attempting to do
provision.
something.
You sure you don't want to add gas and eggs to that?
Do I-
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
That point was well taken,
Yeah.
and I get what you're saying, but
But I understand, and we need to proceed.
I don't know what else to do, you all. I don't know how many calls you all are getting on it. I'm like sheriff, I'm getting one a day at least, if not more. And, you know, there's nothing we can do about it, really.
I made a call.
I tell them to call the legislators, and they've got 2 appointments to the SCC coming up. I don't want to misspeak, but I believe it's this session. And so the SCC is who actually allows these utility companies to have these rate increases. So, little board of supervisors, we have nothing, I mean, there's nothing we can do really, other than some symbolic gesture and try to poke and prod maybe the General Assembly to do something. But I hope that this resolution will at least know that our citizens are thinking about them and trying to do something. I don't know.
Yes, that's good. I make a motion we adopt this resolution.
I'll second it.
All those, are there any other discussion on the resolution? And I would note, and I confirmed it when I was drafting it, and I confirmed it and reread the article, the third quarter of 2022, of course, fourth quarter reports aren't in. They have generated $5.5 billion in revenue.
Billion with the B. So.
And they were talking in their headlines how strong of a quarter the third quarter of 22 was. So, I mean, it's,
so.
I don't know, it's not funny, because like the
Yeah,
sheriff
it's
said, people are suffering and worried,
It's abomination.
and it's gonna hurt us, because we have high power bills. It's not cheap to heat and cool this place, and
It's hurting our
all our
budget.
other properties, and so it's gonna,
Well,
I'll
I
just
have
burn it
noticed
tomorrow.
mine
Money
went
don't.
up, and we watch ours because we burn wood for heat. So that prompted me to make some phone calls, because I have some
I
people
don't know
that
what mine
really
is, I haven't
impacts
seen it here.
in my neighborhood.
all right, we have a motion and second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye as well. I appreciate you all reviewing that and adopting that. That brings us to 9, closed session.
What about other business? So that was,
That was other business,
before we
yes.
go into closed session, I got a call requesting some assistance with the dental clinic. I don't wanna be out of hand here what I'm saying, but would you want that person to come for the next month, I think it was $1,000.
I think that's, I got a message during the meeting here, and I think that's something, Donna, with the ARPA workshop,
That's what I
we'll do a
said,
workshop on that.
wondered if ARPA could do that.
Yeah, it'd be something for the ARPA workshop is
When
what I
when
said
are we
with
gonna
her.
have an
Who's it
ARPA
for?
Who's
workshop?
gonna start a
I'm gonna try to get one in.
The health
No,
wagon.
they already got dental clinic Wise, but it services this whole region.
Yeah.
They got 3 dentists up there now.
Is it open?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when do you expect us to have an ARPA?
We're hoping sometime in February. We've just been really
Well,
covered
that
up
would be
with
something
everything.
we could use money for,
It would be.
couldn't it?
Yes.
So would it help them in this area? I mean,
Oh, yeah, they
What
they
got
say?
people going from this county up there to the dental clinic.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I
It's
mean,
a really good thing. It's a health wagon, but they've
We've
got,
got Dr. Kilgore.
got 3
working.
dentists.
so it's through the health wagon, but it's in a different building or what?
I don't really know where it's
This is
located.
why, do you know where it is, Will?
I don't.
It's up in Wise somewhere, I don't know either.
I
Exactly.
don't know exactly where it's located, but
Is it located where the health wagon is out there?
It may
Maybe,
be,
probably
I don't know.
is.
I think it is, and that's out there just past the college.
Okay.
We probably need to gather that with the ARPA request.
We do. That's what I shared with her.
I didn't know they was open.
All right, are we-
I may go
you
get me a
wanna-
new set of dentures.
There you go.
Who does?
I got some chiclets. Remember Dennis the Menace?
Are you ready to go in closed session?
I am, if everybody else is.
Okay, I make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A, 1, personnel, all departments, Section 2.2-3711A5, economic development update.
I will second that.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Ayes, well, we are now in closed session. All right, we are now out of closed session. I hear a motion to certify our closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we only discuss those issues that we went into closed session for.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Willis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Sluss? Aye. Ms. Kaiser? Aye. Mr. Peters?
Aye.
And aye for me as well, Madam Clerk. Certification for, the closed session has been certified. I don't believe, there's no motions coming out of closed session, correct, from any members?
I don't think so.
All right. Then that would take us to item 12, supervisor remarks, if anyone has them. Ms. Willis, you may go first if you'd like.
I think it's been a good meeting and it's went smoothly and fast, and I appreciate that.
Me too. Ms. Sluss?
I'll second that, and I congratulate Cannon Hill on making his 1,000th
Oh,
point.
yes. That's wonderful.
Very disturbed by how everything went by. Somebody else made 1,000 point, Larry, in.
I think Gay,
Brown did
Gay Brown did.
last year, and then we
Yeah,
got another
Brown did,
player
but
that's
I
getting
want to
close.
congratulate Cannon, he's
Oh,
a
who's the
fine
other
young
one?
man. And the
Robinette.
Robinette boy that,
Oh, yeah.
he broke some record. of
On the rebounds,
most
he's
points in a game. And so I'm proud of the
Good
team.
for you, yeah. Me too.
Ms. Kaiser?
Just glad that things is starting off good in the new year, and everyone that knows the worth of prayer, just remember, my daughter in 2 weeks will be having breast cancer surgery.
Mr. Peters?
Prayers for Beth, I don't really have anything else I need to talk about.
Let's pray together real quick before we close on, Ms. Kaiser. Heavenly Father, we come before you as humbly as we know how. There's a member of this board that has a family member that's got a serious procedure coming up. We ask for your comfort over Peggy and Hyder and April and Beth and their families and husbands and children. I ask you to comfort them and be with her as she goes through this procedure. Our hearts go out to them. Just be with them, Lord. We know your will be done one way or the other. And anybody else in this county that is experiencing health problems, financial problems, or anything else, I ask you be with them. Continue to be with us. But I ask you, Lord, tonight for a special, your hand to be over Miss Kaiser and her family and her daughter in particular. Dear Lord, be with us as we continue on in the county's business this year. And it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I don't have anything else. I'm glad we're finishing positively tonight. We have a lot of things going. I'm very proud of the press releases and reports coming out of our economic director's office. I'm very proud of the hard work her and Mr. Barton have done and continue to do, and look forward to many positive announcements throughout this year and working together. And in addition to my prayer, my heart goes out to Ms. Kaiser and Beth and the whole family. So,
I got two things.
yes, sir.
One, you said we don't have to, do we have to advertise for the public hearing for that? We don't.
We do have to advertise, but we don't
So
have
do we
to.
need to state that right now?
No.
Okay. Then the other, I know we don't have to vote on it, but the other thing, I've got a conflict with our next meeting, so I wanted to see if there's a possibility we can move that.
My car gets down to half tank, it's time.
I have no problem to the,
Mr. Evans, we have a whole host of people that's coming to do a special presentation that, on the 28th, so I don't know.
can you do it by phone? or-
Work on the ridge.
I got grandbabies come over.
Rehab people are coming
We
with
got all
their
the people from
presentation.
Lisa and stuff
I
to
mentioned
that.
to you that I had this
And I want
conflict.
you to
We
tell
already had
them.
that scheduled with them. That's the only date that they had available.
She's
Okay.
What did
Well,
she
then
do?
I may have to visit by telephone. Yeah, because I've got a conflict. I've got to go see my mother for medical stuff and that.
February 28th is our next meeting. and
You tell,
I, Mr. Peters,
did you know
personally, I don't care to move it,
shoot me?
What?
I don't care to move it.
But if we got this scheduled, you,
Then I think you checked and they were,
Yeah, and we have 6 or 7 people with their group that are gonna.
yeah, and I'm not, I understand that. So I'll just do it virtual.
Okay.
Oh, he said he comes up here sometimes.
All right, we'll hear a motion to adjourn then if everybody's
Next time he
ready.
comes,
I'll make a motion to
A
adjourn.
second.
I'll second.
All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Ayes, well, we're adjourned.